Hey guys, how are you doing? I'm going to go ahead and get set up, and then we're going to jump into a world's guide to the top 5 characters that I expect you'll see. But give me 1 second, make sure that everything is good on my end with my audio settings, and I'll go share this link around. Um, I'll probably wait for a little bit while people jump in, and maybe we'll talk about some ultra rares from Reign of Kaiju. Since I think all the ultra rares have been revealed, I think all the secrets. Maybe there's one secret that's left to be revealed, but I'm really not sure. All right, let's see. I have to go live first and then put on the nice thumbnail afterwards. And then I'll go and share it around everywhere, and we'll get started here. All right, it is posted to Facebook. I'll get it posted to Discord here. I'm using my at everybody on Discord powers that I know everybody dislikes. Okay, we'll go. Okay, I think I shared it around enough places where people will come and jump in. Um, Hi, Sirens Cove. How are you doing? We're going to talk some kaiju previews first while I wait for people to jump in. When you jump in, just say something in the chat. Basically, we're going to be going through the top 5 characters that I think you'll see at Worlds. We are going to talk about their game plans. We're going to talk about the character itself, the most common builds, how you can best attack the character, what cards can you put in your sideboard, how can you shift your playstyle, and then we're going to talk about new cards that they got from Guilty Gear, King of Fighters, and the other things that have recently released. So that's what we're going to do. While I wait for people to show up, though, let's check out some of these new ultra rares. I think we have all the ultra rares. So I thought maybe I would go and do a tier list, but I didn't want to go grab all of these and take the time to actually make one of the tier makers. All right, we got Jet number 1, Mill Deku. I am going to talk about Deku, but since I am not showing up to Worlds, I doubt that Mill Deku will be showing up to Worlds. Working on the life tracker, making sure pre-Worlds content gets done. I haven't heard about the life tracker. You're building something? Hello, Pippa. Welcome in. I enjoyed Jeopardy yesterday. I missed it at the start, but got to catch a little bit of it today. Let's jump into some of these ultra rares. I'm going to go super fast with these ultra rares while I wait for people to get in here. I'll just read them, and then I'll give you snap reaction out of 10, how good they're going to be. Okay, Mothra 2 going to be a top contender. Yeah, I definitely think so. Mothra, Titan of Terror, Godzilla Titan of Terror, and Violetta are the ones that I'm a little bit worried about and how fundamentally they break game mechanics. But let's talk about Humanity Fights On. This is a 13 difficulty, powerful 3. Card gets -1 difficulty for each infinity card in your stage. Blitz, change the zone of this attack. So It's a 13 diff that's only a 7/7. I mean, it's terrible to see on turn 2. Um, I guess I could kind of crash out about the infinity symbol some more here, but I at least think that the infinity symbol has been better designed this set than it was in Attack on Titan Apocalypse, where it was a atrocity, in my opinion. Giving like moment. I mean, so many cards have been banned now, right? 9 Titans. Yeah, now we have massive mutant machines. We have military airship. We have moment of normalcy, filled with doubt. What was the other infinity that got banned? Oh, unyielding destruction. Yeah, and so I think the infinity symbol this set is better designed. I think that the design of this set overall is very, very good. It's going to make for a really solid sealed experience. I really like powered tokens. I like how versatile they are and how simple they are too. Like, this is going to be a very beginner-friendly set, but it's also got a lot of powerful cards for veterans. So all in all, I'm going to give the design of this set an A, but that's not to say I have no worries about the design. I definitely have some worries about about some of the characters. And some of these cards are just crazy. So Humanity Fights On, 7 mid 7, powerful 3, -1 difficulty for each infinity. This one is really, really hard to judge right now. Like, currently, I think it's probably C tier, but eventually it could definitely be A tier. And so that one is difficult to judge until we see how prevalent infinity symbol is going to be from here on out. It counts like infinity symbol backups and things. Maybe I'll say B tier right now, possibility of A tier later. 5 diff, form, add 1 card from your discard pile to your hand. I think this one's definitely A tier. It doesn't go in every deck. It probably really goes in those combo decks that want to see certain pieces to pop off. It's definitely going to add a lot of consistency there. You are adding 1 to your progressive. It is a 4 check and it's 5 difficulty. So it's definitely pretty heavily costed, but for those decks that really depend on a certain combo going off, they're probably going to want to have it. So I'll say like A-, B+. That 0 diff action is kind of nuts. Which one is the 0 difficulty action? I'll have to go look at that after. Yeah, Elora loves Emerge from the Depths. That's very true. Got the life symbol on there. Go ahead and remove it and get your momentum. Okay, we got Power of the Monsters. This is an action, sacrifice a foundation. I forgot most of these, so I'm reading these. I'm just going to read them out. Breaker 1, sacrifice a foundation. After your rival plays the same ability on the same card for the second or greater time this turn. I think they meant to put time in there, but it just says second time or greater. I see. I'm just bad at English. For the second time or greater this turn, seal 1 card in their stage, add 1 power token to your stage. So it's like Heroes Upbringing. You can seal their character. I imagine that's what you want to do. Most of the time, you don't have to, so you do have to wait for the second time. So once Rodan plays that second attack and uses the speed again, then you can play Power of the Monsters and stop Rodan. It's like the ultimate sideboard card. It's going to be very good in sideboards. Probably not going to be there in the main board. Okay, we've got Repair. First form, remove, gain 6 health, add 1 power token to your stage. I think that if this one does end up being really, really good, then it's going to be miserable. It reminds me of like Recovery Girl, especially because it's on life and good like Recovery Girl was. But you're just playing this damage reduction deck and then you're healing health on your turn as well. I'm not the biggest fan of this, but I'm going to put it in B tier for the moment because the 6 difficulty action and it's into first form, so it's not very good to draw into. I'll put that into B tier. Sacred Guardian. I know that this is Sam Tate's favorite card of this set. He's been making it very, very well known to everybody. 2 difficulty. If you have no ready foundations, this card gets -2 to its block modifier, so it's a nice 0 mid with Breaker 1. Response, after you block with this card, draw 2 cards, discard 1, and gain 2 health. I'm actually not the highest on this card because it's purely a block trick, and it's not doing anything proactive on your turn. So I'm going to put this one into B tier. Like it's a very powerful block trick. but it's not quite proactive enough for me. Yeah, Total Destruction. 8 difficulty, first form, remove, destroy all assets, backups, and foundations in play. Add 2 power tokens to your stage. Your combat phase ends. Response remove after you block with this card, ruin 1. So a nice little block trick, but you're mainly using it for the first form of destroying everything. I think this one's perfectly fine. It goes after assets, backups, and foundations, which I appreciate. Like, Unyielding Destruction was truly broken when you got to keep your assets and backups, and you were playing like a deck where those assets and backups helped you pass checks because of your character or whatever. And now you just had a massive resource advantage on your rival because you both went down to the 4 foundations, but you have like 10 extra resources and can pass all your checks. This one, since it destroys all the assets, backups, and foundations, plus you're getting the 2 power tokens, the difficulty doesn't really matter since you're destroying everything. Not getting to build anything, though. It's as if you're going second, but you get the power tokens. I think it's perfectly fair. Sideboard tier. But notice that there hasn't been like a truly just bad card yet. Zillion Invasion. I'm actually not sure how you say that. I'll just say Zillion. Would be a good Scrabble word. 3 difficulty action, I believe. Form, remove 1 copy of Zillion Invasion from your hand. So you have to have 2 of these in your hand, I suppose. Name a card, search your deck for up to 3 copies of the named card, reveal them, and add them to your hand. This is giving me like Koenma's Task vibes, but not nearly as good as Koenma's Task since you have to have both of them in your hand. I suppose there's ways to go and search your deck and make sure that you grab the second copy of it. But like in Universus, your discard pile is typically just as good to pull from as your deck. You go through your deck so quickly. A lot of times the card that you want, there might not even be 3 copies of it in there. So you're going through all these hoops just to go grab it. I'm going to put this in like C+ tier. I don't really see this one popping off. Acidic Sludge, 4 difficulty, 4 low, 4. Deflect 4. Your rival adds the top card of their deck to the card pool face down. Okay, so it's like similar to Tongue Wet. Spend a momentum, add 2 cards from your discard pile to the top of your deck in any order. This attack gets 2 damage. So for the cost of 1 momentum, 4 low, 6, stack your deck. Now you're drawing into an attack. I mean, this one's just definitely A tier. Deflect 4 also is going to be a game-winning move quite a bit because people forget about Deflect all the time. They do the math, they commit themselves out attacking you, and then you play the Deflect and you get an extra turn and then you win on the backswing. That's your favorite card in the set, Acidic Sludge. Yeah, that one, I mean, it's basically a 5 low 6. It's basically a 5 low 4 plus 1 speed to all your future moves. Then it can be a 5 low 6. That's very, very good stats for a 4 diff. As well as just being a really solid engine piece. Doing a little bit of everything there. Good stats, good engine, good defense. I don't know how you say this guy's name. I'll just call him Aang. Aang Ball, 5 low 7 on an 8 diff. I have not seen this card at all. This is the first time I've seen this card. -1 difficulty for each power token in your stage. Okay, so it's kind of like Walk the Dog. Max -4, so it's like a 4 diff, 5 low 7. That's the exact same as Walk the Dog, essentially. 6/6 is the same as 5/7. EX3 instead of Powerful 3. You get Breaker instead of Stun. Except this one, the draw is contingent on dealing damage. So, I mean, Walk the Dog is just a lot better than this. For each power token in your stage, that probably isn't going to be so great early on. A lot of times you can still get your Walk the Dogs off early if your rival blocks like a single time on turn 2. Getting 4 power tokens in your stage, probably going to be pretty difficult to do on turn 2. I'll put this like B-. Definitely not. It is not a Walk the Dog. It's like a Walk the Dog Junior. World's Guide to the Top 5. I join your first thing on screen is Godzilla card. I'm just doing this for a little bit. I'm only doing Godzilla for like. I'm just going to run through these cards super fast, and then I'm going to the world's top 5. I promise. You haven't missed it. It will be there in just a bit. Bladed Uppercut, 4 high 4. EX2, Frenzy, Powerful 2, Stun, Fury, Punch, Weapon. I love how they didn't like use a second just there's all this space right here. You could put a second line, but instead they just squeeze all these words together. If your rival has 15 or less health, each of this attack's keywords get +1 to its rating. So it can be a stun 2, EX3, powerful 3, and that frenzy can go a pretty good way. I'm going to say B+. It's kind of purely a stats card. Frenzy is pure stats. This Blitz is just adding to your stats. Not a great engine piece, but I could see you throwing a couple cards of this in the set. Blasting off. We got EX2, powerful 2, deadlock stun 3, 5 mid 5. After you play a keyword ability, draw 1 card. That response doesn't say once per turn or twice per turn. So you could give this like extra keywords and play those a bit. If you have a character that gives stun, like on the order symbol, if you're playing like Krista, and you give this stun. There's a lot of ways to give this extra keywords where you're drawing like 3 or 4 cards off of this. I think it's going to be very, very good. It's probably not like a 4X piece because it is pretty conditional on you having some setup into it, either having the momentum or being able to give the extra keywords. But I'm going to give it a solid B+ tier with the potential to be absolutely cracked. Really, really high ceiling on this one. It's just not going to be for everybody. But when it's useful, it's going to be very, very good. We got Bug Bite. Add one high 5, add 1 card from your discard pile to the top of your deck. Spend 1 momentum. After you block with this card, ready your character. I think that this guy's like not... I think this response is like not okay. When you're using this with like Midoriya and you get to ready up Midoriya Quirks Unleashed, or you get to ready up like the new Mothra and just get free blocks. And now you're getting 2 free blocks in a turn at the price of 1 momentum, and it's already a nice 0 high block. I mean, it's 3 difficulty. It's high damage. So when you need it at the end of an attack string, it's there and it can pack a punch. The add 1 card from your discard pile to the top of your deck is pretty nice. It can help draw you into the piece that you needed to win if you have some sort of draw in your stage. I think this card is crazy, and the response is going to be not okay with some characters. How many more do we have here? I guess we have quite a few. Burning Fury, this one's bad. Mill 8. This attack is +1 speed for each attack in your discard pile. So max +5. So like it's a 6 diff, 8 mid 7. 6 diff, 8 mid 7, like at the very highest amount of speed that it's getting. And 8 mid 7 on a 6 diff is nothing to write home about. Basically, if there's a lot of like cards with response effects when they hit the discard pile, maybe this could be good, because the best thing this card has on it is Mill 8. So this is like D tier. Corona Beam. 5 high 6, breaker 1. If the check to play this card was modified, add a power token to your stage. There's a lot of check modification right now on like the chaos symbol. Commit up to 2 power tokens. Seal 1 rival foundation for each power token committed this way. I think the concept of committing your power tokens and saying, I'm not going to use the 2 damage this turn, I'll use it next turn. That's a really cool concept. Committing something that's, anyway, not an asset, backup, or foundation in your stage. I think this one's good. It's a nice 1 high block, breaker 1, good stats. We love getting to seal 2 cards on an opener. Typically on your 5 diff, you want that to be a strong string opener. Strong string openers are things that take down stuff in your rival stage, like a Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken. And this one is going to see some play. It's going to have to deal with like on the Void symbol, you're fighting with like Ice Sword Execution, right? They're both high blocks. They're both 5 diff openers. Which one are you going to put into your deck? But if you're you're pretty power token dependent for this to be good. So it's probably limited to kind of Godzilla. Crushing Impact, 4 low 6. This attack gets 1 speed for each power token in your stage. If this is the second attack or greater, ready 1 foundation. Notice it doesn't say ready 1 foundation that has not been readied this turn. So if you're playing multiples of these, I mean, it's basically 4 difficulty, right? And then you can be getting your best ability on a foundation back repeatedly. I think this one's great. A lot of characters are probably going to have quite a bit of power tokens, and this has no cap on the speed. Really, really like this one. The Ready One Foundation goes a long ways. It's going to play like a 4-diff. But it's definitely not a repeated 100%. I'll say like B+ tier on that one. Focus Prism Beams, 4 difficulty, 3 high 5, Deadlock powerful 5. This attack gets +3 speed, only playable if your rival has 4 or more committed foundations. So a lot of times this is going to be like a 6 high 5, 5 difficulty stats on a 4-diff. Response: after this attack resolves, if it received a speed and damage bonus, commit and freeze 1 rival non-character card. I mean, this can hit backups, this can hit assets, as well as foundations. This reminds me a lot of Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken, except now we're a 4 difficulty instead of 5 difficulty. And you have to wait for after this attack resolves. So you don't get the benefit of using your first enhance to commit and freeze whatever powerful ability they have in their stage. But the 4 difficulty and not a 5 difficulty is huge. Especially like the Void symbol. Like if you're looking at like Void Rodan right now, Void Rodan has a lot of great 5 difficulty attacks. Repeated 100%, Heat Tackle, Ice Sword Execution, but he doesn't have that many good 4 difficulty attacks. Once you get past like Tri-Gravity Beam, then you're kind of like reaching for like, you want to play Anima Shot, you want to play Redirecting Push, Rewind Throttle, Aerial Goblin Bolt. Like the 4 difficulties, I feel like on the Void symbol are kind of weak right now. I mean, this would just be slam 4 of this in right away, no questions asked. Yeah, I think this one is equal to, I think this one is like very close to like S tier to me. It's just going to be immediately 4x'd in tons of decks. I mean, I know that you have to have the speed and damage bonus, but that's really not hard. Frenzied Dive. While this card is in your card pool, your attacks get +1 speed, and you may sacrifice a power token as though you're spending momentum to pay for EX abilities. Commit and seal 1 rival asset or foundation. While this card is in your card pool, your attacks get +1 speed. So it's base 3 high 5, +1 speed to everything else. And it's got EX2 powerful 2, and you've got commit and seal 1 rival asset or foundation. Yeah, this is very similar to like Focus Gravity. I mean, it's just very good. Adding stats to all of your moves plus a point and click rival stage interaction. Throttle mentioned after he talked bad about it. Rewind Throttle is sometimes a necessary evil. Like in my Mirio list this weekend, it was the only piece of rival stage interaction I had. So sometimes it does something. 6 mid 6. We're staying with the 4 checks on attacks here. Sacrifice 2 foundations. Add 3 power tokens to your stage. After you sacrifice 1 or more power tokens, this attack gets +1 speed. So if you immediately sacrifice those power tokens, then it's as if this was 12. Then it's as if this is a 9 mid 12 on a 7 difficulty 4 check. That's very, very good stats. 7 difficulty for a 4 check is really, really low difficulty. That's like a 4 diff in 3 check world. And you can choose to use those power tokens later. Yeah, this one is very solid. Now it's pure stats, but the power tokens, I think they're very powerful and how versatile that they're going to be. Fusion Chest Cannon. Let's see. Response. After this attack deals damage to a character, your rival commits 2 foundations. Freeze 2 rival foundations. That's pretty insane, but it has to deal damage. But you also have Breaker 1 on a 1 mid block. I mean, this is probably going to be purely Mechagodzilla because of this response at the start of the end phase. Remove this card with a Kuryu counter on it, and then you can play this as if it's from your hand. So if you're Mechagodzilla, it's going to be very, very good. Otherwise, it's a little too situational for me. You're having to depend on it dealing damage, and it's just a 5 mid 5. When it works, though, it's going to be awesome. Golden Destruction, 5 difficulty, 4 mid 5 Echo. If you have 8 or more cards in your removed pile, this attack gets 2 speed. After you remove 1 or more cards from your hand, draw 1 card. Okay, so very good in Ghidorah. It's going to always say draw. It's going to be a 6 mid 5 that draws a card. And it has Echo, and then you can draw another card. Very good if you're Ghidorah, but you have to be removing cards from your hand. A lot of these cards, I appreciate how like situational they are. Like this is very Ghidorah. This is very Mecha Godzilla. We're getting a couple like kind of S tier ones like Focus Gravity Beam where it's going to be useful in most everybody, but not too many. Growing Grasp, this is going to be one of those crazy ones. Throw, 3 low, 4, 5 difficulty. Face downs don't count towards progressive to play this card. Gets X damage. X equals the number of cards in all card pools. So this is going to be like a 10 damage throw that you're playing late in a string on like a 5 or a 6. And a lot of these throws that have been coming out in this set, in the MHA days, these had terrible block modifiers. These ones are perfectly fine, like a 2 mid block. That's great. And EX3 on a throw, you know, the big downside of throw strategies is that they're very, very slow. They're bad block modifiers. But this one, well, it is just 3 speed. It has the ability to also be a speed dunk at the end. This one is very, very good. Let's see. Jet, Uppercut, Deadlock, Stun 2. Add up to 4 cards from your discard pile to the bottom of your deck in any order. This attack gets 1 damage for each non-attack card this added this way, so it can be like a 5 low 7. If the check to play this card is modified, draw a card. There's a lot of ways to modify checks these days, but that's still a little too situational for me. I think this one is a really cute one. It's probably going to end up being like C tier. But like if you're playing like a mill strategy, I think it's funny to like a bucket list item for me would be adding 4 copies of Hold Hostage to the bottom of my deck and then getting myself to draw into them. Or like, hey, I'm going to add my Genkai's Guidances to the bottom of my deck and I'll find them later, or just stack your attacks there and say you don't care about the stats on this current one. You're going to draw into a hot hand later. I think it's interesting, but probably not incredible. King Ghidorah Unleashed. If you have 10 or less health, this attack is -1 difficulty, 4 high 4. After this card is removed to pay a cost, you may try to play it from your remove pile for the rest of this turn. If you do, remove the card when it leaves your card pool. So it doesn't automatically leave your card pool, but when it does, then it's going to be removed from the game. This is pretty cool with like incubating. You can remove it and then attempt to play it on, I think it shares, are those all the incubating symbols or is it just evil and void? Oh, it's fire for the other one for incubating. Okay, so we got 2 out of 3 of the symbols though. But it's just like at best, it's like a 3 difficulty, 4 high 4. So this one is like cute, but I think it's a little more cute than like actually good. Malicious Assault, another 7/4. Remove 1 card from your discard pile, or remove up to 2 cards from your rival's discard pile. I think this is going to be very, very real for Mill. Whenever I was playing Mill Rodan last year in Atlanta, whenever I got the I can't remember the Lurker Strike. Whenever I used the Lurker Strike when I reviewed an asset and then removed 2 cards from my rival's discard pile, I was always winning that game. Because if you can remove 5 attacks from your rival's discard pile before they cycle the first time, and you're a very defensive deck, that's just game over a good chunk of the time. I think this could make Mill real, but you know, that's just me, and I'm always a little higher on Mill. After this attack, deals damage, your rival removes 1 card from their hand. So it's a attack that if you're playing a Mill deck, a lot of times your like rival doesn't have to respect your attacks because they know you're not killing them, so they're just not going to block. But this one is saying, hey, you have to block this, otherwise you're going to be losing a card for forever. Mecha Bombardment. For the record, I think I see Mildeku in the chat. I actually think that like Rodan is probably a better Mill character today than Deku is. I was on Deku recently purely because of Unyielding Destruction, but with that card gone, I think Mill Rodan is now a little superior. Mecha Bombardment. 5 difficulty, 3 low 5. If you have more cards in your remove pile, this attack gets done too. After this attack resolves, remove it. Only playable if you have fewer foundations than your rival. This one, it's got both of the abilities are pretty conditional. Otherwise, it's just the 3 low 5. It's got the stats of a 4 div. Very good when you get both those abilities off, but I'm going to say it's definitely not going to be like everywhere. Mechanical Monster. Powerful 3, range tech, 3 high 7. Your rival commits 1 foundation. If they have 10 or more foundations, commit 1 rival foundation. Okay, so it's like stun 1, and then you get a little selective committal if they're in deadlock. This attack gets +1 speed for each committed rival foundation. Okay, I love that there's no cap on this one, so it can just be like a 10 high 7, and then we can put powerful 3 onto it. It's pretty much just a stats card. We get a little bit of that deadlock, pseudo deadlock, I guess. If they're just at 10, it still goes off. Yeah, this one's solid. I don't think it's one that you're going to put 3 or 4 in, but I could see a lot of decks putting like 2 copies of that in. Monster versus Machine. This one might be my favorite card in the set. 3 difficulty, 3 mid 3, breaker 2, powerful 2. It's a 1 mid block. I love breaker 2 on a 1 mid block. And it's got commit 1 rival asset or foundation. If your rival has 10 or more foundations, freeze it. Okay, so we've got selective committal, so this could be a good string starter if you need to get through a troublesome rival piece. Response after this attack deals damage, add 1 power token to your stage. So as a string starter, your rival does have to respect it a little bit, because otherwise you're going to be giving 2 damage to something at the end of your string. It can also be a string finisher because it's 3 difficulty with powerful 2. So even though it's 3 base damage, this thing could be like a 7 damage move with a couple momentum poured into it. Otherwise, you're just holding it for a 1 mid block breaker 2. Like, it's doing a little bit of everything. You're mainly using it for breaker 2, but it's a starter when you need it, and it's a finisher when you need it. I really, really like this one. Probably my favorite card in the set, and I just like the art. Oxygen Destroyer. I saw a lot of people worried about this one because they were saying that it's like risky gamble. What was the card that got banned? Whatever that attack that got banned was, which, by the way, as soon as it was revealed, I was immediately saying it was going to get banned. This one I do not think is nearly as good, but let's talk about it. 4 difficulty, 4 low 5, powerful 3. After you remove 1 or more counters from your character to pay a cost, add a power token to your stage. That is a repeatable response. Probably can be broken somehow, but it's pretty difficult to remove counters from your character. Form, discard pile. Try to play this attack from your discard pile, only playable if 2 or more rival cards have been destroyed this combat phase. So you could be playing it from your discard pile. If you then clear it from your card pool, like let's say you're like Mirko, because it's a Fury attack, then you could be playing it again and just keep going. But it doesn't have that huge stat pump that... I can't remember the name of it. Risky Encounter. Okay, Jet's got me. Jet's got me in the chat. It doesn't have the stat pump of Risky Encounter, and you do have powerful 3 if you have momentum, but I don't think that this is ever going to be a banned card. Yeah, and it will get a Day 0 errata, but I'm not going to confuse everybody talking about that one. It's freaking better? I mean, Risky Encounter was like a 10 plus damage move, like all the time without any stat pump. And it was a 3 difficulty, right? Because it was -2 difficulty and it was base 5. So it was like a 3 difficulty move. Yeah, I don't see Oxygen Destroyer being like everywhere quite like Risky Encounter was. Plus you have to be destroying 2 rival things. Queen of the Monsters, 4 high 7. Spend a momentum, add a foundation from discard pile to your card pool and draw 1 card. Build a card from your card pool face up or face down. Basically, spend a momentum, build any foundation from your discard pile, and draw a card. That's pretty crazy. Even if you don't have the momentum, right, you can just play a foundation and then play this on a 6 and then build in that foundation if you really needed it. I really, really like this card. This shares 2 symbols already with Team Hero. So if you're like an air or good character, you will just always have the foundations you need. It's pretty crazy how much we're allowing this free building to be occurring. Thermal Flame. 5 difficulty Echo Frenzy, -1 difficulty if a rival foundation was destroyed this turn. Okay, nobody's going to be playing this card unless they're doing that, so it's basically always a 4 diff. 4 diff, 5 high 4 with Frenzy. That's +1/+1 for each attack blocked. This attack cannot be partially blocked. I think this one's real good. I think that the Echo and the it's just kind of sneaky good. It doesn't just jump off at you, and it is just like pure stats. But that static of cannot being partially blocked, you're really going to catch people with that one. Let's go Winged Death. Mill 2, remove a card from your discard pile. I'll say the other one's like B- tier. It's definitely not going to be it's not like an engine piece. Winged Death. Breaker 2, Mill 2, remove a card from your rival's discard pile. This attack gets plus X speed. X equals the printed difficulty of the removed card. So you're playing this, you're moving something selective, or you're just holding it for Breaker 2. Like Void Mill is going to be very, very real. Between this one and the other one where you're moving two selective things, we still have Yu Yu Hakusho with Cape of No Return and Genkai's Guidance. Yeah, it's going to be scary. I might just get talked into playing that for Chicago. Oh, Peyton was saying it better get an errata. It freaking better. I see. Yeah, I thought you were saying it's freaking. I see. Okay. Yeah, the errata, people are worried that it's. Anyway, I don't actually really fully understand it. It's something like it's playable no matter where it is, or you can fail it and still keep going. Like if you got breaker, you could just freely get around the breaker, something like that. It's gonna get fixed, so I'm not worrying my brain trying to understand it. Immense Showdown, 1 difficulty, foundation, flip, add 2 cards from a player's discard pile to the bottom of their deck in any order. Deadlock form, add an attack with printed difficulty 5 or greater from your discard pile to your hand. I like this one. It's a spam foundation. It doesn't have to be crazy, but saying that you can take away 2 pieces from your rival's discard pile, especially when we were just looking at a card that free built any foundation. We've got Team Hero. We've got all these attacks that are like selectively tutoring things. You've got Oxygen Destroyer playing itself from the discard pile. In the right meta, this could be main board. Otherwise, it could just be sideboard. And it's a nice little deadlock there. Zillion Agent, our last one before we talk about Worlds. 2 difficulty. If your rival's in deadlock, everything gets +1/+1. Remove 1 copy of Zillion from your stage. Search your deck for 1 card and add it to your hand. I don't really understand this one. Like, you have to have 2 of it built, and then you have to remove both of them, and then you get 1 card from your deck, and these are 4 block mods. I guess if you have 2 of them built and your rival's in deadlock, everything's getting 2/2. I don't really... I'm confused why this is an ultra rare. Yeah, somebody must have been doing something crazy in testing, and then they just gutted it and completely shot it. So, I don't think it's good. Oh, you can commit one of them to pass a check. Yeah, your 2 difficulty ultra rare can be used to pass a check. That is true. So, secret text on the foundation. All right, so that is enough about Godzilla, but you can definitely tell as I was going through these that like there are hardly any of these that are bad. There were a couple C tier, a couple swings and misses like Burning Fury in my opinion, but overall I think it's going to be a very, very good set to open. It's probably going to be similar to Yu Yu Hakusho. And how it like defines the meta. I think it has way better art than Yu Yu Hakusho. I would say that this is a set that the boxes are going to keep their value for a long time. Like Yu Yu Hakusho, it was like at like $120 a box about like a year and a half ago. I don't know if that's gone down, but the box price had actually appreciated instead of quickly going down like most Universes box prices do. I think this is a set that's going to keep its value for sure. Otherwise, we're going to have crazy power creep in the game because this is pretty insane. A lot of the value in this set is in the ultra rares, secret rares, and rares. So there you have it. Let's talk Worlds. Let's transition to the main event. I've got 5 deck lists pulled up here on UVS Ultra. I'm going to be taking you through the top 5 characters that I expect you'll be seeing at Worlds. We are going to talk about their game plans. We're going to be looking at their most common builds. We're going to be looking at how you can best attack them, how you can shift your play style, in my opinion, the cards you can put in your sideboard. What are the new cards that character got access to from like Guilty Gear? or King of Fighters, the most recent lists of this character, how have they evolved for these new cards? I think that there's a very clear top 5 for Worlds. And you have to be prepared for them. That said, I do think that the meta is pretty wide open, and I honestly would not be shocked if a character came out of nowhere to win it all, and somebody really, really cooked with a list. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all. But I do think that, like, in terms of quantity of players on these characters, that there's 5 that have clearly separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Okay. We're obviously going to see Mirio. No, I don't think there will be a single Mirio there, but maybe. All right, let's go. Our number 1 character that you have to be prepared for. This is just a, this is the line for you're too short to ride the ride. If you don't have a strategy for getting through this character, don't bother bringing it. You have to have this character. You have to have this character in mind when you're building your deck. And that is going to be Izuku Midoriya, Quirks Unleashed. And notice that I said Quirks Unleashed, and that is because the first order of business for most Midoriya players is to transform as quickly as possible. They're typically transforming on turn 2. Sometimes they'll put it off till turn 3 or turn 4 later in the game, especially if they have a pretty vestige-heavy deck. But most of the time, it's transform as early as possible. You're going to completely negate a rival's move by taking its speed to 0, drawing a card. Now you're a 7-hander with 29 health who completely negates a rival's move, and then eventually you're going to build up to a huge stage. You're going to turn it all sideways, and you're going to, in one shot, kill your rival, and you're going to cancel as much interaction as possible. Let's see, I wrote some notes over here, so I'm periodically going to be looking to the side and just making sure that I've gotten everywhere. You could stay on the front side on the move, and you could play like similarly to Rodan, but I think that Rodan just does it better. So, if you want to be this giving speed and subtracting speed character, just go to Rodan. Otherwise, if you're on Midoriya, I think you're on a transform to Quirks Unleashed type strategy. The game plan for Midoriya is simple. The one-hit KO is inevitable, and you're just playing solitaire. You are going to delete interaction to the maximum extent possible. You are not going to let your rival interact with the one-hit KO attack that you throw out. It's going to have flash. You're going to have response cancels. You're going to have action cancels. And then on your rival's turn, you're not going to let them have their best piece. And you're just going to play solitaire until you eventually win the game. And in my opinion, this is a miserable deck to play against. It makes a mockery of Universus, and that might be me putting it lightly. I don't think this character was intended to actually play this way that it does, but here we are. Nothing's been done about it. We have been given some cool answers, like Not Now I'm Gaming. But you have to be prepared for this character. Like, can you fight through your best attack getting flashed? And then can you fight through Midoriya's 20 foundation stage? Can you kill them fast enough before they get set up? So let's look at a list that I think is indicative of what you're going to be seeing for Midoriya. And let's swing it over here. So this is Corey Nelson's list. He got 31st at the regional that took place. Was this the Buffalo regional? I think it was. The regional took place just a couple months ago. Came out after Guilty Gear, but before King of Fighters. So like a King of Fighters card that you would typically see in Deku these days would be Team Hero for sure, to build in your Nonagons, your heroic passions, whatever's best. But this is typically what you see, a pretty low attack ratio for the list as a whole, 74 cards, but we're only playing 16 attacks. We're going to make this Phantom threat really huge, and we're going to give it flash. We're going to use our first enhance to give it damage, and then it gets flash. And it's just going to be, and it has powerful 3. So that first enhance is going to be powerful 3 to get it the rest of the damage that it needs. And then we're just going to delete interaction. We can use Ocean Buddies to like put Aerial Goblin Bolt into our card pool. We can block with an Aerial Goblin Bolt. Now, not only are we taking down your best attack, but we're using AGB to take away your abilities. We could put in like a Heat Tackle in with Ocean Buddies and then stop you from being able to draw. Heat Tackle also just gives us that Roman cancel that we need for a just further wall to really build up. We get to play Filled with Doubt, Airy Smiles, but you can see that everything is defensive here pretty much. End of the cycle, sidestep, cheerleaders, nice tries, desperate pleas, because we want to keep 4 or 5 cards in hand to be able to block everything with, and the desperate plea, build it in even while we're blocking. The real key though, the real reason that you're playing the air symbol is for Heroic Passion. You get this on air and on water, and it says after this card is committed to pay a cost, draw 1 card. So a lot of times, even if you're not really swinging for it that turn for the 1-hit KO, you're just turning Heroic Passion sideways with the forms to draw, and then you get to be like a 9-hander, and you can build that massive stage even quicker. And then we get lots of cancels like Stopping for Breakfast, Tattered Costume. Special Forces Elite is the secret sauce for like winning the Deku Mirror, because it can cancel your rival Deku's character ability. So when your other Deku attempts to take the speed to 0, you say cancel it. And since you're Deku's, you'll always be in deadlock because you're just trying to build a 20 foundation stage as quickly as possible. And so Special Forces Elite, that's how you're going to win the mirror. And so you can see like another one is sideboarded here. Cheerleader, again, we're just deleting interactions. So not only are we flashing with our character, now we're flashing with Cheerleader. He's not playing Shutdown in his list. I think Shutdown is pretty crazy. Void Symbol attuned. Yeah, so everything is just, Nonagon is sealing something. We're deleting rival. We're deleting all rival interaction, playing solitaire, and eventually we're going to win the game. One thing that's not in Corey's list that other lists might be doing for Worlds is using Hadir. Hadir being able to take an attack from your card pool, stack it on your deck, and then you can use form draws like Heroic Passion or like the 1 difficulty Turtles card. I can't remember what that foundation is called. And then you can use like Invisible Infiltration, for example, to like reset your Heroic Passion, and then you can draw into it again and just keep resetting whatever form draw you have. You get all your momentum for Hadir from Fajin Flurry. So that's a combo that could be done by Deku. I think Deku's better served just by focusing in on the 1-hit KO and not getting distracted by these alternate win cons. But you could definitely see that kind of Deku there. I'm a big fan of like Void Deku for the mill strategy, but I doubt anybody's going to be on it. I think this air symbol list from Corey is a pretty good indication of the type of Midoriya that you're going to have to fight through. And you're definitely going to want some practice into this character and not just to play into this character like you would anybody else. So how can you attack Midoriya? How can you make it through this character? Where's the weakness for this character? Well, the biggest weakness is that he's trying to 1-hit KO you and build this huge foundation, but there's a very low attack ratio. None of these attacks are really doing major damage early on. So, early on, you don't have to be scared of him. You can disrespect Midoriya early on because he's not going to kill you on the backswing. 90% of Midoriya lists are not going to have a prayer of killing you on turn 2 or turn 3. So you can feel free to disrespect them. And earliest in the game is when Midoriya is the weakest, when they have the fewest foundations. Maybe they've had to commit 3 of those foundations to transform their character. So you can really get greedy and full send into Midoriya early. You'll get turn 2 plus the turn he transforms to deal 80% of his life total. If you haven't dealt 80% of his life total by the second turn after he's transformed, then you're in some major trouble. If he gets to that second turn after transformation, he's still at 20 plus health. It's going to be very, very difficult to ever kill this character. But if you're able to get him to like 7 or, sub 10 health early on, then eventually all you need to get through is like 1 attack and break down the wall. So it is going to take a God Hand at that point to break down Midoriya's wall. But you have turns to sculpt, right? It takes this character 3, 4, 5 turns to get ready to kill you. And so you can get greedy early on turn 2 and on the turn that he transforms and has to commit those 3 foundations. You can get really greedy, and then you can take your time and sculpt into a God Hand, because it's going to take you having 5 or 6 attacks You know, if you are just playing 3 attacks into this character and then building, and then 3 attacks into this character and building, I mean, you're going to get squashed. That is not how you play the game here. You've get greedy early and then sculpt into a god hand. If you want to play the long game, answers are only going to work in bunches. Remember, this character is deleting your interaction as much as possible. So 1 answer is not going to be enough. You're going to need 2, 3, 4 answers on stage. And then it's very difficult for Midoriya to ever kill you once you reach that point of answers. But you've got like Desperate Struggle at response speed to take it back down to printed. You've got Roman cancels for the taking the damage to 3. You've got like Filled with Doubt. If you filled without the Phantom Threat, and now it can't gain Flash. You've got like Not Now I'm Gaming to add the card back to their hand. Genkai's Guidance, incredible display. But remember, Deku has ways to get through your answers. So if you want to play the long game, you have to have lots of answers. And at that point, you're probably teching too hard for Deku, you know? And so you, in my opinion, you got to get greedy early on, especially the turn he transforms. When you sense weakness, go all in, because you're going to have some time to build and sculpt after that. But it's going to take a perfect hand. New cards that he has access to, we've already talked about it. It's Ocean Buddies, it's Hadir, it's Heat Tackle. Ocean Buddies is like kind of dangerous, I would say, for Midoriya to play, because a lot of times your rival's going to put a card in their card pool that's like really good. Like I remember I was playing like Benimaru, and I got hit with Ocean Buddies, and I just put an ultimate combination in my card pool and then used Shortcake Admirer to pick up my ultimate combination. So it was like, sweet, thank you very much. You gave me my ultimate combination, which is what I need to win the game here. So Ocean Buddies sometimes a little scary to use, but it's hard to pass up, like the Aerial Goblin Bolt and Heat Tackle interactions that it gets. Okay, so that is going to be it for Midoriya. I think that this is some sort of iteration of this list is probably what you need to be preparing for. Violent Animus Shot is very solid into the backup decks. I don't think there's going to be a lot of backup decks at Worlds. I think if there is, it'll probably be mainly Sung Jin Woo, purely because he got a huge glow up, very, very popular character. Stuff that Second City Rampage in, baby. Yeah, there's a good one. Just keep swinging at Deku for 3 turns. He's not going to OTK you that quickly. Yeah, exactly. You know, and at some point you do need to build and sculpt into the perfect hand for that turn 4 or turn 5 kill. But definitely as soon as you sense a little weakness early, just take full advantage. You know, there is no reason to respect this guy on turn 2. Okay, so that is going to do it for our first character to prepare for. So 1 down, 4 more left. I will say that I do think it's funny that like Midoriya didn't get noticeably better apart from Team Hero. I mean, Team Hero is very, very good. He got Substitute Member, I guess, to take the speed down to 3. And I was just showing Corey's list, which was 31st. So it does kind of surprise me that like so many people are talking about playing Midoriya when he really hasn't had the major recent result to show for it. And the character's not exactly fundamentally different. Like this air build has been around since Albuquerque. I think it was Eli's build, and he just barely missed out on top cutting Albuquerque. And it really hasn't changed that much. And we've had, I know Mitchell has done pretty well with Midoriya as well. Okay, so number 2, the second character that you need to prepare for is Godzilla. And this character has a really good matchup into number 1, into Midoriya. You know, the Midoriyas are crossing their fingers that Godzilla's not going to be showing up. And maybe that's part of why people are kind of on Midoriya is, hey, if there's going to be less Godzilla after the Titan Cliff ban, maybe this character's a little more freed up because Godzilla gives Midoriya nightmares. And the big benefit to Godzilla here is that he's very straightforward. Everything's getting 3 damage. You get to give bonuses to your checks. You get to play long strings very, very early on. It's fun to say everything's for 10. And sometimes you can actually do a pretty good job of blocking by spending your momentum as well. And you just have a lot of health. But the main thing that takes this character from a good character to a great character is the board wipe. It's all about the first form ability. The first form is what makes Godzilla in my opinion, the best aggro character in the format at this moment. Commit, discard 4 cards, destroy all foundations, only playable if there are 10 or more foundations in all stages combined. So if you're playing into a character like Midoriya, who is wanting to build this huge foundation base, and then you get to just say, hey, we're going to reset our foundations, then you get a third turn of early aggression into Midoriya. You know, most characters are only getting those 2 early turns, maybe turn 2 plus the turn that he transforms. Godzilla is getting a third free turn to attack into Midoriya. Also very good against a wide range of characters. If you're playing against any sort of control deck, really, once they have that wall built, you get 1 chance to take down the wall. I think that this first form is really, really potent with the, what's the foundation called? I'm going to look at my notes here. Short-lived promotion. It's the one that makes you like a 7-hander, or if you have 2 of them, you can be like an 8-hander at the start of your turn. And now you're getting to build 3 foundations or 4 foundations on the turn that you transform. I mean, on the turn that you board wipe. Tripping over my words here a little bit. But I think that board wipe is what takes this character from good to great. So if a control character like a Rodan is just outpacing you, you get to pull them back to your level to try and aggress into them 1 more time. So the main game plan here is we're just going to be extremely greedy because we have a lot of health, because we have the board wipe, and we can restart the game. That gives us full ability to just sling orange and live our lives. You know, we can just full send it and aggress into our rival as hard as we possibly can. The most common build that you're going to see, I think that there's going to be quite a bit of Earth and Water Godzillas now that Titancliff has been banned. But I still think that Chaos is probably the best symbol to go. So let's go over here. I've pulled up Jonathan's list at the Glasgow Regional. He got 10th place, just barely missing top cut here. And yeah, I see Paul in here saying, I think Godzilla has a rough Mikasa and Tyner matchup, which might lead people off him. I disagree somewhat because against Mikasa, setting a 5-hander back to 4 foundation, or, you know, board wiping the 5-hander. Sorry, I'm thinking of Unyielding Destruction in my head. But using the board wipe on the 5-hander, Mikasa is best on turn 3 when they have 7+ foundations and they can really just pop off and play a 20 attack string or something crazy like that. Getting the board wipe into Mikasa, I think, is actually quite good. And then Tyner getting the ability to add bonuses to your checks. I do think that like City Rampage is very, very difficult into Tyner. It's almost just illegal to play into Tyner, to be honest. If you check a 1 on your City Rampage, then Tyner still has a check hack left for your first attack. I mean it's turnover. But anyway, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. But let's talk about this list. We've gotten rid of Titancliff, but we still have pretty good consistency because we get short-lived promotion. We get to increase the size of our hand. We're going to be using Smashing Stomp to draw and Walk the Dog to draw as our main engines here. And then we have, of course, Horrifying Realization and Fearsome Transformation. So we still get to be a kind of reliably seeing 8 or 9 cards per turn. The biggest difference here is that we are pretty heavy on the low zone. You know, it's like Blue Flame Torment, Smashing Stomp, Heat Ray, Walk the Dog. Walk the Dog is definitely the main kill condition here. We do have the 1 mid for Determined Advance, you know, the Rodan killer attack. And of course, you can't leave without maybe the best attack in the game right now, Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken. For your rival stage interaction, it's going to be your best opening piece. So you do have a high and a mid to keep your rival a little honest. But I would say that especially the Earth Godzillas too are really leaning on low attacks. You know, the Earth symbol is getting Piercing Thorn Lances to add a low attack from their card pool to their momentum, and they give +2 to their check. They get like Canister Creation Strike to build anything in their discard pile. Yeah, so I do think that like against Godzillas, you're going to want to be holding your low blocks, whereas in the past you typically were holding your high blocks. Yeah, and then this character just goes dummy, right? You just play your City Rampages into all of these. Dumbfounded is, speaking of playing dummy, this card ignores progressive difficulty, so you can go City Rampage into 5 attacks, build like 1 foundation, and then throw your Dumbfounded down, and it's free. This card is even better than a 0 difficulty foundations. So basically you're getting 8 0 difficulty foundations here. You get these really, really wide builds. You're still getting finally free pass-through walls. I typically have been a pass-through walls hater. I am a full believer for Worlds because of Team Hero. You see everybody on any character who has an error good symbol, they're just like slamming 3 or 4 Team Hero in their deck because it's so free. You get to build any foundation. So pass-through walls, I do agree with this decision, actually, if you're playing Godzilla for Worlds. I do like playing pass-through walls. Yeah, and then, this is just a very compact list. So this is the type of list I would probably practice against. But Godzillas, I think, are going to be a lot more... there's going to be a very wide array of Godzilla strategies, a lot of which maybe I haven't even thought of. There's earth builds out there, water builds out there. The main new cards that Godzilla got were simply just tension attacks. The ability of, hey, this attack gives me momentum, and then I could just cash this in for +2 to my next check. Or you can just be grabbing the Roman cancel. Or, if you play like Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken and then a tension attack, the tension form to freeze a rival foundation, very good. Now you've frozen 2 things. So the tension attacks are a pretty big deal for Godzilla. Unfortunately, the tension attacks, most of them aren't great. Okay, how do you attack this character? What's the best way to kill a Godzilla? And the number one piece of advice here is do not overextend into Godzilla unless you're killing. It is so easy for Godzilla to squash you. You have to respect his offense. He's going to full send it every single turn. It's very easy for him to take you down. So you can't afford to overextend. You cannot lose your footing against Godzilla. You have to poke and build, get some chip damage in, poke and build. Now Godzilla's at like 20 health, and now you can kill him and go all in. But you have to be holding the correct block zones, and because he's not adding speed. So apart from like Determined Advance, most of Godzilla's attacks are pretty easy to block if you have the right zones, and you can definitely play defense against him. So don't lose your footing against him. Take your time, get a couple poke turns in, and then take him down. Ultra aggro can definitely find 34 with like a perfect turn 2 hand. Like there were quite a few times when I was playing like my ultra aggro Benny list where I was killing Godzilla on turn 2 because Godzilla's not doing a lot of blocking. And so, Mikasa, speaking of her, she can definitely find 34 early. I was saying the board wipe's pretty good against a 5-hander that wants to rely on their stage. But Mikasa can still just find that 34 early. Some cards that you can put into your sideboard is like military tactics or not now I'm gaming. I think that any type of card that is going to force them to burn their check hack is very good. And I actually think that burning someone's check hacking ability is very good against a wider array in the meta. I was just speaking about Benimaru using check hacking like Walking Fortress. We've got like gentle criminal decks out there. There's just a lot of check hacking right now, I feel, in the format. And so it's not purely for Godzilla, but if you can find a way to add that card back to their hand and use up their check hack, that's pretty good. And then, just hold the right block zones. Zilla's not adding speed. You can block 2 to 3 attacks. Don't ever overextend into this character and then just hope they don't draw orange. That is going to do it for Godzilla. I'm going to check the chat here, see if I missed anything. We've got Mikasa has an easier time drawing into more attacks than Godzilla has. This matchup is mostly high roll on who kills first. Yeah, well, Godzilla is like the ultimate high roll character. He just high rolls a little better because of the board wipe. He gets that extra opportunity to do it. I think Mikasa getting Koenma's versus Rampage can kill his consistency a bit. Yeah, I don't disagree there. But smart Zilla players will be willing to side out Rampage. Rampage is not necessary in Godzilla. A lot of Godzilla players just immediately slam 4 Rampage in, and they would never think of siding it out. Definitely against like Mark Tyner, and perhaps against like Mikasa for getting the 4x Koenma's task, it could be a good idea to side out your Rampages. Godzilla has lots of ways to generate enough momentum to pass a crazy attack string without Rampage. Okay. So let's move on to our number 3 character. We've got Izuku Midoriya and Godzilla, and at number 3, This one might be a little bit of a surprise, but I personally think it's Mark Tyner. I think we're going to have a ton of Mark Tyner represented at Worlds. I'm not saying that I think Tyner is a top 5 character, but I am saying that he's going to be top 5 in representation. I would be shocked if he wasn't. So we have to talk about Tyner. And Tyner's kind of similar to Midoriya, where he's miserable to play against. You know, I wish he wasn't going to see a high portion of the World's meta. I think Tyner is for the players that just want to watch the world burn. You know, they don't have a good time unless their rival is also having a bad time. You know, it's not enough just to win. Your rival has to also know that they lost and you won. Tyner, you know, this is a sicko character. No disrespect to the real Mark Tyner. But I don't like the character build. Okay, so Tyner, you're getting to have 2 copies of unique foundations. When your rival fails a check, you gain health, but that you're really just playing that top response of commit a unique card. It can be an asset, it can be a backup, it can be a foundation. After a player makes a check to play a non-foundation card, that check gets +2 or -2. So let's talk about the main benefit of Tyner, and that's that you're basically getting a +4 foundation count each turn cycle. Plus, you get to treat assets and backups as foundations. So you get to use assets and backups to pass checks, and now you can commit 1 card for +2 to your own checks on your turn. On your rival's turn, you're giving them -2. So essentially, it's like each turn cycle, you have a 4 foundation advantage over your rival, and you really want to pull your rival back in their resources to keep that +4 advantage, meaning as much as possible. Of course, you don't want your rival to build to 20 foundations and then your resource advantage doesn't mean as much. You want to continue debuilding your rival, and you have a lot of cards to do that. The evil symbol is getting like Yeetus Deletus. Both of them are getting like King of Illyria. Evil gets like Warped Pleasure. You're getting like Togoro's Dominance. On the order symbol, you get a little bit, I think, better attacks with like Bloodsucking and Walk the Dog and Ice Sword. I think that's the big benefit of the order symbol, is you have a little bit more you also get Patchwork Baby on both symbols here, but the order symbol really plays into that stun attack package pretty well with Ice Sword and Walk the Dog. On the evil symbol, though, you can go 4 checks tribal, and there's a lot of other very cool things that you could be doing. You get Breaker 2s, you get I can't think of it off the top of my head, but we'll take a look at a list here in just a little bit. But yeah, you're going to use, Colossal Confrontation is a big one with King of Illyria. You're just trying to pull your rival back in their resources so that you keep the tempo on your side. So you're going to use cards like Illyria, Colossal Confrontation to maintain your resource advantage, and you're going to slowly grind out a win. You're going to take advantage when your rival succumbs to their desire to overextend. You know, it can be really easy for the rival just to get kind of fed up with the game, and they just choose to overextend at an unopportune time, and then Mark Tyner can take full advantage on the backswing. I think a lot of people are going to be too confident facing this character, that they can, they're just going to think, I just built and then I win. And they're going to be surprised when that's not the case. Tyner has lots of answers to you simply saying that you're going to build. We'll talk about Tyner's real weakness here in just a little bit. First, I'll show you a sample list for Tyner here. Let's go over here. This one, I actually saw Zach in chat earlier, and so I pulled this list from Zach's UVS Ultra, because of course we don't have any lists to go off of because this character's never had an event where he's legal. But I do think that 4 checks tribal is probably going to be the most common Tyner list that you see, because Colossal Confrontation is so naturally a Tyner card, ruining 3, building something, and going and grabbing anything from your deck. You could even grab a Colossal Confrontation. Most of the time, I think what they're going to want to grab is Yeetus Deletus. I mean, this asset is just crazy. Form. Add this card to your card pool face down. Your next attack is -3 difficulty and +3 damage. So you can turn your Colossal Confrontation into a 7 difficulty, 13 damage move. Or you use this enhance, add a card with printed difficulty 4 or less from your rival stage to the card pool face down. Essentially, you're taking away their resources. So you're combining like Yidis Deletus with the Ruin of Colossal Confrontation, with King of Illyria, with Warped Pleasure. You're just never letting your rival get ahead of you. You want to keep up your resource advantage on them. And then the other thing is you can still be a massive Mutant Machine deck, even though you don't have a way to like cheat it in. There's a lot of strategies still out there where you're cheating in Massive Mutant Machine. But with Tyner, you don't really have to, because this is like a 6 difficulty asset instead of 7 difficulty, and then you can use it. No, it doesn't have unique. It does have deflect 3 though. But it's pretty easy to build since you're getting that +2 to your check. And then you get things like Ichigaki to take away interaction, Filled with Doubt to take away your rival's moves, Runaway, you're getting like Invincible Body. You're not blocking super well in this character. You're really not, you don't have a lot of card economy. You're definitely not going to have an advantage of cards compared to your rival. And so instead of blocking, you're using like tricks, using like the Runaway or the Invincible Body or the Moment of Normalcy, the Citywide Crisis, the Not Now I'm Gaming. Not Now I'm Gaming is hilarious in this character. You check hack them to where they have to pass the check, and then you just add it to their hand. And then they have to play it again. Plus, it's just great to have against, this is going to be really good against the Godzilla and the Bennies, but it's also going to be very, very good against like Midoriya to add that card back to their hand. But then you also get foundations like Imprisoned, going to be very powerful in a 4-check tribal deck, since you can pass this as early as turn 1. You're always taking away your rival's best resources. You're just going to slowly grind out a win, and it's going to be miserable to play against. Plus, all of these transform into unique cards that you can use to pass your checks. Smiling Titan attacks, waste a rival's attack. So there you have it. Yidis Deletus, this card is just pretty disgusting. I will say, like a lot of Tyner lists that are like relying on Colossal Confrontation, they're going to get hit with the Filled with Doubt, and they're going to cry. Okay, so let's talk about the best way to take down Tyner. The biggest weakness of Mark is not his rival just building. If his rival just builds, we have lots of ways to pull them back. The biggest weakness of Tyner is that he doesn't block. You'll see in like 90% of Tyner lists, they don't have any speed control, and they don't have a lot of cards in hand. So they're really counting on that -2 to your check, plus a couple tricks like a Runaway, Condescending Explanation, Invincible Body, Ichigaki, the Smiling Titan attacks. Like, once you get past their tricks, once you get past their check hacks, they're pretty easy to kill, because they're not able to block nearly as efficiently as a Rodan. They don't just have like 4 cards in hand on defense. They don't have any speed hate that they're playing beyond resets like Citywide Crisis and Moment of Normalcy. So once you get through a couple check hacks and a couple stage answers, Tyner is wide open. You really just have to build for that moment. So when I was playing Benny earlier, it was just, hey, as soon as I pass a single ultimate combination, I'm going to win the game. I'm going to rebuild. I got through his check hack. I'll use one thing to check hack into ultimate combination. As soon as I rebuild my stage and I got through the check hacks, like it's just shields down, and you can kill him quite easily. So I think the biggest weakness of Tyner is that he's not going to be blocking. But I suspect a lot of people will be on him. Let's go to our 4th character here. Tyner's a little bit difficult to talk about because he's such an unknown commodity. There's going to be so many different builds out there that I'm not even thinking of. The 4-check tribal one is just the one that kind of comes to mind because I know that Justin is going to be playing that deck. So yeah, I'm still unsure how he wins consistently. I do think the Order symbol gets a little better attack package with the Walk the Dog, Patchwork Baby, Ice Sword. I mean, those just really nicely synergize with each other. Plus King of Illyria, adding back the Committed Foundation to your rival's hand. On the Order symbol, you do get Bloodsucking Universe. So you can just slowly grind through the game. I personally think that all Tyners need to be playing Pro Hero rankings because they want to play these slow, grindy game plans. You don't want to be the one with the clock on you. Pro Hero rankings can add damage. to your finishing attack, or you add those King of Illyria's to your hand and then use pro hero rankings and you get you get damage for each of your foundations. And then you'll just never mill out because you're adding cards back. You're adding those attacks back into your deck, and then you're drawing really hot. But I don't see a lot of Tiners playing pro hero rankings. So, what do I know? I think there's going to be a lot of different builds here. And it's hard to just choose one. Okay, let's talk about the fourth character, and that is Mikasa. Been making you wait a little bit for this character. I've got her at 4, even though she's probably going to be number 1 in terms of representation. The reason she's probably going to be number 1 in terms of representation is because she's coming off a regional win, and it's a proven deck. It's a fun deck to play. Universes players, we like drawing cards. We like clearing our card pool. You get a lot of answers on the death symbol. Getting to be a 4x Koan Task deck goes a really long way. You're getting things like Desperate Struggle. You get ways to seal your rivals' foundations. You just have a lot of answers with the death symbol, and draw a lot of cards, add damage, and kill them. It's a very proven commodity at this point. Most Mikasa 4 lists, they're going to look 80% the exact same. So I pulled up, well, here, let me make sure I hit my points before we go to my most common build here. Mikasa, 35 health is strong early game survivability. You get to trade 1 resource for 2 resources every attack. You're strongest when the card pool stays clean. So almost all of your attacks, you want to be clearing the card pool somehow. Anchor Toss, Dual Needle Lunge. The Ghidorah attack, that's a 1 low 4 powerful 3 that removes itself from the card pool. You're going to attack a couple times turn 2. So the main game plan here for Mikasa is attack a couple times turn 2, destroy a couple foundations to draw 4 cards, and then you're going to build your whole hand because your card pool is clear. So you're going to build your whole hand, and then on turn 3, you're going to go into your turn 3 with like 7 plus foundations, and you're going to attack 10 plus times. And then in the late game, you get Koan Task to really go over the top. You're a very, very consistent character at being able to remove Koan thanks to that Ghidorah attack, thanks to the weapons at the ready or something where you can stack the tech attack on top of your deck. You're going to have those Koan in your discard pile and then 1 in your remove pile. So the late game, you get to use that Koan to really give you all the attacks you need. Maybe you want all of that throw, Luna to Harris. Maybe you want all your anchor tosses, and then you can take out all the things from your rival's deck that are causing you issues. So that helps you get over the top, but you're mainly a turn 3 character. You're not necessarily a turn 2 character. Turn 2, you can attack a couple of times, draw some cards. I mean, you can go crazy if things work out for you. But mainly you want to enter that turn 3 with like 7, 8 foundations, and then there's just nothing your rival can do. You're going to be playing 10 plus attacks. They're all going to be doing 7 damage. Well, they're all very, very slow. Your rival eventually will not be able to block them. So we're going to take a look here at Tam Cardwell's list. Tam has done very, very well at several events with Mikasa, and he has this one labeled as Death Worlds. I have played this one against team members a couple times just to test and give team members practice into Mikasa, and it's a very good list. It definitely does the job of just killing people. You're going to play Dual Needle Lunge, Anchor Toss, and Focus Gravity Beam. Those are your core 3. They're all going to clear the card pool. Focus Gravity Beam is going to fuel your Koan Task. It's also powerful 3. This is the one that you really have to watch out for. We'll talk about that when I talk about how to play against Mikasa. But the powerful 3 here really catches people by surprise. Tray size is quite crazy. You could play 2 of this if you want. You can stack this on your deck with Weapon at the Ready. Then you can just use your... a lot of times you don't want to destroy your foundation to echo it, but you're just going to use your Dual Needle Lunge to echo it. And then it's going to flip face down, and then we can discard it with Forcing Surrender. The death symbol just gets lots of answers. We get Smiling Death to flip rival things. We get Arrogant Fighter to seal rival things. We get Dark Ward to cancel card pool responses. So Breaker is just not going to work against this character. Your Rejuvenating Smashes are never going to work against this character. And then we get Desperate Struggle. Plus we get like Breaker 3. We're going to block once per turn. It's always going to be the Breaker 3 because we're always holding the Breaker 3 because we draw 1 million cards each turn. And we want to be using this to give 3 damage to to our attacks. Team Heroes new, I mean, you have to put it in there. And then the 4 Koan Mistast. So if you're an action dependent deck, it's just not going to work against Mikasa. So, Weapon Clash, solid. Fighting for control, solid. Always cool. Like the death symbol, just very, very strong symbol. This deck is a very known quantity. It doesn't take much practice to feel really good with it. I would say it takes quite a bit of practice to like truly master it. But it's kind of similar to Godzilla. You can pick it up, play a couple games, and you're understanding what's going on. And a lot of times your rivals interaction, it doesn't matter. You're going to be able to fight through it. So very, very like beginner friendly, known quantity. So it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be absolutely everywhere. So what cards can you put in your sideboard? How are you going to adjust your play style against Mikasa? Let's talk about it. Okay, Mikasa 4 begs the question. Can you deal 35 damage early? She's not going to be doing much blocking beyond the Breaker 3, and she's probably going to only have one stage answer. The Desperate Struggle, the Moment of Normalcy, always cool. There will be like one stage answer, and then she'll maybe block once. But other than that, it's just, can you deal to 35? And most of the time, Mikasa is saying that she can count to your health total faster than you can count to 35. So she will eventually kill you unless you are playing like a 100% control/mill deck. This character is scary at all times. Koan Mistast is really, really good for locking games up late. So playing defense for forever against Mikasa, I feel like is just not an option. You've got to deal that 35 damage. So if you have to survive, find ways to stop attacks from clearing the card pool, or you can clog her card pool. You can use things like Scales of Juno to stop it. You can like Redirecting Push to flip the Dual Needle Lunge or something. You can play some foundations that clog her card pool. That's going to do a little bit, but she gets a lot of ways to get around that. She's probably going to be using Smiling Death or Arrogant Fighter to take down your answer before you even have the chance to use it. And then even when you do use it, they're going to be able to fight through it. They have so much card pool clear that they can fight through it. So you can try. But a lot of times you just have to deal 35 damage early. So when you are holding blocks, you always want to be holding a low block for Focused Gravity Beam. So if you notice here, Anchor Toss, you're going to be tempted to block quite a bit because it is only 3 speed, but it's also going to be the lowest damage move. Dual Needle Lunge is much higher damage base and the same speed. So you want to be blocking these Dual Needle Lunges with your high blocks, and then you always want to be keeping your low block for the Focused Gravity Beam. Do not get caught with your pants down. This has powerful 3 on it in a deck that's adding Dual Needle Lunges to its momentum. So if you use your low block on Trace Ice, and then they follow up with Focused Gravity Beam, and they say, hey, this is now 10 damage, or this is 12 damage, and you spent your time blocking Anchor Tosses and Trace Eyes, you're gonna feel like an idiot. So hold your low block for Focused Gravity Beam. Always expect it. You have to know what's going to kill you. One thing that I saw the other day was actually Rodan was in Deadlock, and Luna Dejaris came out and had Deadlock Powerful 4, and that's actually what won the game. But anyway, try and keep things from clearing the card pool. Hold your low block for Focused Gravity Beam. And you have to be playing a deck that can deal 35 early. Okay, let's go to my 5th character. But before I do that, I'll catch up on the chat here. Mikasa is the subdivision of the Pony Cabal. Yeah, it's just a new version of Pony. Absolutely. Tyner's about to go 008. I do think that like Tyner is not going to be a common day 1 deck because of the draw reason. But probably going to be a very common day 2 deck. All Mikasa players know is play Dual Needle Lunge, draw 2 cards, reveal Dual Needle Lunge, 3 damage, eat Hot Chip, and lie. Watch one Mikasa play Lethal Rendering and say +4 damage. I think the winning list, I think Constantine's list was actually playing Lethal Rending. The good Mikasas will probably be playing Lethal Rending. Yeah, I think the winning list was on it. Okay, so let's talk about our 5th character. I think if you took like 2 minutes right now, you would almost certainly guess it. It's not really much of a question. The 5th character is going to be Rodan. Rodan hasn't gone anywhere. Good players flock to this character because it's such a heavy control character. You're getting to stack the top of your deck. You're getting speed reduction without much of a stage. And then all of your moves are just unblockable. So the basics of Rodan is that you play fundamental universes better than any other universes character. You know, the fundamentals of attacking and blocking, Rodan does better. His moves are faster. All of your moves are slower. So he's capable of string blocking early without a large stage. This makes Rodan's pretty good into like Godzilla, where Godzilla's sending like 5 attacks at you very, very early, but he's not adding speed. Well, Rodan is going to be subtracting all that speed. As a 7-hander with a lot of draw options, you're not running out of cards in hand very often, and you can just easily block them even if you're completely turned sideways with your stage. You can block 4 or 5 attacks on like 5 foundations. It's just crazy. So this character feels pretty good into Godzilla for that reason, as long as you know the block zones to hold. But you're the definition of a control character too, because that bottom enhance, you get to literally stack your deck. You're getting to look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Hey, I want to draw into the attacks and I want to check the foundations. You have full control to make it happen. So your basic game plan as Rodan is poke, build, block, poke, build, block, build up momentum, and then go for the kill. You know, the most common kill condition here is going to be like repeated 100% smash. EX3, powerful 3. You've built up this stash of momentum, maybe Ice Sword execution for 10 damage, but you're just getting pokes in early. You're not letting your rifle touch you. You're not overextending. You're playing solid fundamentals. And then eventually when you have your momentum built up, you can go in for the kill. Now, the all and air variants that I've seen of Rodan are typically much more aggressive, but they just don't have nearly as many answers as Void. Void feels like it has all the answers to the top 4 characters that I've mentioned here today. And so if you want to be playing the Void simple, it's really hard not to be choosing Rodan. You know, you could go like Ryu, for example, for the damage, but I think you're just playing a worse version of Void. I think Rodan is probably undeniably the best Void character in the game. Void has just tons, maybe the best symbol in the game at the moment. Let's look at a common build. And the common build here is going to be really easy because we're just going to look at Jet's list. Jet just took down Webcam Warriors. Now look, it was an 11-player event. It wasn't like I wouldn't say it was like regional equivalent to any extent, but we were trying, and Jet never lost a round to my knowledge. Really showed off the power of Void Rodan, and we know he's showing up to Worlds with Void Rodan, so we better take a look at his list. And I think that 80% of Void Rodans look the exact same. You can get saucy with the 20%, but the core of repeated 100 plus Rejuve plus Trigrav plus Ice Sword Execution plus Heat Tackle, that core is not going to change across any Void Rodan. You know, Rejuve and Heat Tackle are both punches to fuel your repeated. Repeated's your best kill card. Rejuve is your best engine card to be drawing into it. Heat Tackle is wonderful on defense. Remember how I showed you that Godzilla had most of their attacks that were lows, especially the Earth variant, but also the Chaos variant now? Well, Heat Tackle is a low block, and then you can stop their Walk the Dog. Or you can stop their Fearsome Transformation or whatever they're playing that's adding cards to their hand. And then you just get Ice Sword Execution and Trigrav as like your best non-punches. Very, very powerful Void attacks. This is your main like rival stage interaction. We don't get access to like Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken, but Ice Sword is almost just as good. Also going to get up to 10 damage, be a nice momentum cash in. Trigrav is that, hey, we're adding the speed. This also has Deadlock Stun 3, but now we're also going to be ripping cards from your hand. You can pair Trigrav really nicely with like Violent Animus Shot for like lots of hand rips. And then from there, it's really dealer's choice. So the 80% core is the same, and then Jet chose here to play Rising Uppercut and Redirecting Push. Redirecting Push gets to flip the rival's attack before the damage step, meaning it will never resolve. Meaning like Dual Needle Lunge says add this card to your momentum after it resolves, but it will never resolve because Redirecting Push will flip it before it gets to the damage step. So it's going to like flip those Anchor Tosses. Dual Needle Lunge is also just a nice Omni block since the attack never reaches the damage step. I really like this addition here. And then Rising Uppercut It's a punch. It's going to synergize with repeated. Now we can reversal them on their turn. So 80% are the same. This foundation list, everybody's going to be playing Battle for Dominance. Everybody's going to be playing the Incubating Science Bros combo, where when you use Incubating on your own attack, now it's only giving you +1 damage. Plus you're getting the +1 damage, the +1/+1 from the Rodan removal. Supersonic Flight, adding 3/4. Then you get to Incubating and take it out and draw cards from your discard pile. Hackers gives you access to ways to stop the asset strategy decks. You get Not Now, I'm Gaming for Midoriya. You get Red Ride's the coolest for some extra damage. Scales of Juno going to be really, really good against card pool clear here. Plus you get Genkai's Guidance Barrier Shield. 4Xing Team Hero. It's just so important to be able to always find your sign. Like, you will always have Science Bros. With Team Hero, the consistency of this deck really took a step up, in my opinion. And especially with Heat Tackle. So those were the main new cards. Heat Tackle, Scales of Juno, I guess Armored Clad Faith. I'm a little iffy on whether or not this one is actually worth it. Jet apparently thinks so. He's got it at 3x, taking away a keyword ability of his choice. But those are the main new cards that you get on Void. And this is probably the most common thing that you're going to see. Now, like Gathering Supplies, Inspired Design, Aaron Sidestep. There's a lot of dealer's choice here, but the 80% of every Void Rodan list is pretty much the same. Okay, so what is the best way to attack into Rodan? Well, Rodan is the best character at playing fundamental UVS. So if you want to, you're not going to beat Rodan by playing a deck that's just playing fundamental UVS, because Rodan's going to do that better than you. Moderation doesn't win this battle. You have to go off script. You have to like zone overload, massive stun, stats that can become huge twice over, playing 10 plus attacks like Mikasa. You have to go all in on something. You have to break the game of Universes to beat Rodan. Like this weekend when I was playing Mirio against Rodan, the zone overload, now I don't have to fight Rodan on speed. I'm never going to win this speed battle. But maybe if I play 10 high attacks in a row, I can exhaust all the high blocks from Rodan. It's kind of scary to call low these days with Heat Tackle there. If you're playing like a massive stun deck, maybe you can get all of the answers turned sideways. Maybe Toga 3, adding Deception Daggers. I think that like Amajiki, the City Rampage Amajiki had a pretty good Rodan matchup. That was one of the reasons I had chosen Amajiki. This was a couple years ago, but maybe a year and a half ago. But you can use Force Core, you can add your Deception Daggers into your momentum, unflip them. Adding Stun 8 to an attack really takes the entire stage down and puts a lot of pressure on Rodan's blocking ability. If you can get your stats to like 20/20, then they're going to barrier shield it. And then if you could get it back up, like for the Amajiki list, I guess it was like Armor of the Wolf, then I could EX3 or Powerful 3 and get the stats back. Mikasa 4 playing 10 plus attack. You have to break the game somehow. You can't go toe-to-toe with Rodan playing fundamental UVS. So it's very similar to Midoriya. Yeah, you can't just play a couple attacks and hope they get through and then build. Like, you can't just play the attacks that you draw into. You have to sculpt to a point where you can overwhelm Rodan. So if Rodan's in a pretty good defensive ability and you draw like 2 attacks, unless there's a reason to be drawing those attacks, like to draw more cards or to do like engine type things, just keep the attacks, build your foundations, and sculpt, because you're going to need to find a huge attack string. Also, very similar to Deku, you can disrespect him early. Void Rodan on turn 2 is not going to hurt you. Not saying that he doesn't have a lot of offense. I think that the Science Bros Incubating Team Hero combo can be pretty good, and it doesn't take, Heat Tackle's giving you the momentum for the Ice Sword Execution and the repeated 100%. So you can't disrespect Rodan as much as you disrespect Deku early, but certainly on turn 2 you can disrespect Rodan a little bit, because you really need to push to get that damage through early, because it's going to be difficult to deal 20 plus damage later on. So that is all I have to say on our top 5 characters. I think it's clear cut these are the 5 characters you have to prepare for Worlds. Ezekiel Midoriya, Quarks Unleashed, Godzilla, Mark Tyner, Mikasa Ackerman, Hizuru's Hope, or Mikasa 4 as we call her, and Rodan. These are going to be by far the most represented decks. I would be shocked if a different character was more represented. Now let's talk a little bit about sleepers. Sleeper characters that could see high representation. I would say Sung Jin Woo is my number 1 sleeper character. Backup decks took a huge hit with 9 Titans getting banned. And so you're not going to see nearly as many of the Hanges and Zeeks and the kind of traditional backup decks that have done well over this past year. But Sung Jin Woo is new, very, very powerful as he levels up. Way better than the previous version of Sung Jin Woo. Protects his backups really well with the damage reduction. Can really reach a point of inevitability. I think that he's very weak. I think that Sung Jin Woo is very weak to Mikasa 4 and Godzilla. And so I think that's going to tamp down the representation a little bit because of how weak he is early in the game. But if you're going to be preparing for a backup deck, I think Sung Jin Woo is going to be the main backup deck to prepare for. Other than that, like, it's not necessarily a character, but there's still lots of ways to cheat in Massive Mutant Machines. We didn't really talk a lot about Massive Mutant Machines here in this top 5 because Equipment Heist got banned, but there's still a lot of like cheeky ways that you can do to cheat in MMM. So wouldn't shock me to see an MMM build make it. There's a lot of different characters, a lot of different strategies where you can cheat it in. Let's see, Krista. I guess it depends if Team MGLA wants to continue playing Krista. But Order Krista definitely got access to some new tools. You know, you got like the tension blood-sucking throw to get the Roman cancel. I could definitely see Krista having a really good showing. It got second at last year's Worlds. The only thing that it lost to is Kevin Broberg's Hanj, which was like heavy on the damage reduction. Well, we don't have a lot of damage reduction in this top 5. So the deck didn't really get that much worse. I definitely could see Krista doing pretty well. I just think it's kind of like if Team MGLA decides to play Krista. If not, I don't think the representation is going to be there. So I think King Ghidorah could, there's always like a contingent of King Ghidorah players. Unyielding Destruction definitely made King Ghidorah feel pretty unplayable for a while because King Ghidorah is so stage dependent, and now you actually get to have a stage in the game. So Ghidorah could be back. I think there's a lot of sleepers here. I personally think, and I know I'm a little crazy, I think Benimaru is the best aggro deck in the game. The best pure aggro deck. I think Godzilla is the best aggro deck because of the board wipe, but like pure aggro, I would go Benny. So I think there's a lot of sleepers out there, but it's a pretty clear cut top 5. I don't think, if you're going to be crowned the world champion, at some point you're probably going to play against each of these 5 characters. And the build that you play against is probably going to be pretty similar to the builds that I showed here. So this is my expectation. If you have a dramatically different expectation, just let me know in the chat, because I'd be very, very curious to know your thoughts, because, I have the same people that I'm testing with all the time, and sometimes I can be kind of in a bubble. I try and to the best of my abilities, see what other teams and everybody else is playing, and kind of stay in the broader UVS knowledge. But I'm sure I'm sure something out there is crazy, and I haven't even contemplated it yet, and it's just going to take Worlds by storm. It would not shock me in the slightest. I think that the meta is pretty wide open, but these are the characters you have to prepare for. So that is going to do it for me. I'm going to hang out for a little bit, read some chat. If you have any questions, send them in. But that's pretty much everything prepared that I have for you. Uwabami is clearly a sleeper. Uwabami would be if you were there. We have like 250 standard legal characters, and we're going to have like less than 250 total players for Worlds. So it's really hard to like say somebody is a sleeper when there's a high chance that nobody's going to play them. Ezra Miller, Krista run. Yeah, wouldn't shock me. If he says Ryu, I will resub. How to beat him, play Ryu. Unsubscribing after that. I mentioned Ryu. I said that Ryu was like Rodan Jr., you know? I mean, you're playing a slightly less consistent void list, but it's still strong. I mean, now you're adding damage instead of speed. Um, you sometimes get to use your draw 3 ability and be like an 8-hander, and you get access to a lot of the void symbol tools. And you know, you're scarier in the early game. You're scary. Ryu is scarier than Rodan early. It's just going to be less consistent in the long run. So, um, yeah, I'd put Rodan above there, but I do think we're going to see a couple of Ryus at Worlds. I would be pretty shocked if we didn't. Yeah, that is going to be it for me here, guys. There's your top 5, locked and loaded. I hope I don't look like a dummy after Worlds and there was something out there that took everybody by surprise, but I wouldn't be too shocked if it did happen. Maybe that'll be my biggest prediction, is that some crazy off meta list actually wins the event and comes out of nowhere, and only a very small group of people actually knew about the list going into Worlds. You know, maybe there's like a small team out there and they've just been they found the sauce and nobody else knows about it, and we're all going to be surprised because it's been kind of a long layoff as we've waited for Worlds. I think that having Worlds in late February is a travesty. Not only because now I have to miss it because of my anniversary. It's my 10-year anniversary this weekend, so I'm not going to be there at Worlds. But it just really feels wrong that like we're having our 2025 world champion like 1/6 of the way into 2026. I think that the upcoming organized play schedule of the 4 regionals throughout the year and then the world championship in November is so much better than the world championship taking place in late February. Now we've all already seen the whole Godzilla set and everybody's hyped about Godzilla and thinking less about Worlds. Worlds should have absolutely been early February this year. What is the scariest matchup in the meta that people should be looking out for? Scariest? Scariest is hard to tell. I mean, everybody has different fears, right? How scary something is dependent. Like to me, if my opponent showed me Midoriya Quirks Unleashed, that's the one where I'm going to have a miserable game. I have like 200 plus rounds of practice into Quirks Unleashed, and I have enjoyed less than 5 of those rounds. I love Universes. I do not enjoy playing against that character. So like to me, that's the scariest character. It's just like, look, I'm going to still try my best, but like, I know that like, even if I win the round, I'm not going to be like having a fun time. So yeah, Quirks Unleashed to me is the scariest. I'm just going to seal all their defenses. Well, good luck. Todoroki, maybe Todoroki makes it through. It would be fun to see. Yeah, so that's going to do it for me, guys. I will be back here next week, probably be going live here next Tuesday. I'll be going live with several members of the team, and we're going to talk about World's results, talk about who was crowned world champion and the top cutting lists. What was the coolest list that came? We're going to be grading our Let's Talk UVS draft, see which of us won and which of us got last place, and then mercilessly make fun of them. And then we're going to look at all the Godzilla characters. And everybody's going to rank the characters, and then we'll come up with like a team tier list where we aggregate everybody's score. And then everybody in the chat can also play along and send in your scores. So next Tuesday, it's going to be a really, really fun live show where we talk Worlds and talk a little bit of Godzilla. That'll probably be a 2+ hour long show. And then from there, it's all about Godzilla and testing for Chicago. So we'll just see where things go. But we're already only like 6 weeks away from Chicago. I will definitely be there. I'm extremely, extremely excited for that event. So that's it for me, guys. I'm going to go and head to sleep. And if you're going to Worlds, good luck. I wish I could be there. And I'm excited to see who the world champion is. Hopefully it's someone on Teams Let's Talk UVS. Hopefully it's my brother showing up with a deck that I guarantee nobody's expecting. But anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. I'll see you guys next week on Tuesday. Excited to see what happens at Worlds.